Welcome back to another episode of Rethink Real Estate. Chris and I are back on this week to have a conversation about how do we market to perfectly good strangers. I think that one of the questions that has continued to come up from me from a coaching perspective is, how do I market to people as they progress through the relationship? Do they get the same as our D leads all the way up to our A plus leads? Now, again, if you're not familiar with the way that we structure our database or that we speak about it, D lead is somebody that you just meet, whether it's an open house, a barbecue, a stranger, whatever it may be. A C lead is somebody that knows who you are and what you do. A B lead is somebody that is actively looking in the real estate community, like buyer or thinking about selling in the future. A lead is somebody that's done business with you, and an A plus lead is somebody that has done more than one deal with you or has referred you more than one deal. Either way, folks, hopefully this helps, but it gives you a good insight to understanding how we classify people, how we also then can do an induction process. And what I mean is that not an induction process like they need to fill out something. It's more so for your own standards to make sure that they're entered into your database correctly so that you can market to them in the most efficient way possible. Hopefully you enjoy. Welcome to Rethink Real Estate. My name is Ben Brady, and this is a real estate podcast aimed to deliver sales strategies, marketing tips, and business insights from industry experts and myself to build a listing-focused business for the future. Let's get into it. Christopher.
Ben.
How are you, mate?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. I'm wondering if we should share with the audience what you're doing this afternoon. Because I've got to be honest, it sounds like a nightmare.
Swimming lessons with a 2-year-old? Well, hold on. So you know the 2-year-old, my camera's going out of focus, which is fun. There we go. Swimming lessons with a 2-year-old, but at the same time, the swimming lessons with the 2-year-old happens, the 5-year-old is also doing her swim lessons at the same time. So it's like...
So hang on. Is that a you and Danielle thing? Like, is that a dual parents in the pool thing?
Well, no, because the 5-year-old knows how to swim. She's been in swim. Thankfully, Australia taught her how to swim. You know, all those Aussie medals that are happening right now in the Olympics in swimming. We got the best coaches in Australia for the 5-year-old. And now the 2-year-old is stuck with all the YMCA ones here in America, which is probably not the best. So.
I think that the greatest, do you know what? And I'm going to try and tie this back into the episode, because what you said to me sort of depicts the real estate industry, I think, as a whole. is you like your daughter? Well, sorry, one of your daughters. Okay, basically the youngest. Sorry, Henry, how did you say this? You said she thinks she can swim, so she's screaming at me the whole time to let go, but she can't.
Yeah, she screams at the top of her lungs. They like make them like have this rubber ducky that you like swim after and whatever. She picks up that rubber ducky and just chucks it at the other kids. So she's gotten kicked out of daycare recently. She's in a mood. I think not everybody knows this, but I really like watching UFC on the weekends. I gotta stop watching UFC with the 2-year-old. I think it's a very terrible thing for the 2-year-old to watch at this point.
Well, Kennedy's well behaved.
Yes, yeah. Kennedy's well behaved. She's nice. She's well behaved with strangers. She's terrible with us, but she's well behaved with everyone else. So,
all right, okay. Well, speaking of diving into relationships, there we go. Pardon the pun if we're talking about swimming lessons. Hey, I think one of the things that the question that's been coming up a lot for me recently, definitely from our episodes that we've done, and it's more. I'd love to get your take on this. Is that the progressive way to market to people in the different stages of your relationship with them? So I'll give you an example, okay? I meet somebody at an open house. I get their information. They're a complete stranger. It's the first time I've met them. How do I market to that person after they've given me their information? Okay, first of all, you've got to get the information, all that type of stuff. But how do I market to a complete stranger? But then that person starts engaging with me a little bit more. You know, they've been, or maybe they haven't engaged with me. Maybe they've been on my database for a period of time, and I can see they click on my stuff. They haven't unsubscribed, whatever it is. How do I progressively then market to them as we get further down the pipe? Like, I think that where I'm going here is that, you know, I often speak about the D lead that comes into your database. The D lead is somebody that you meet at an open house. C lead is somebody that knows who you are and what you do. Okay. A B lead is someone that's actively looking right now, or that, you know, constantly is checking in with you about real estate. And then an A lead is somebody that's done a deal with you. An A plus lead is done more than one deal with you, or they've referred you more than one deal. Now, if we were to use that same classification, you don't market to DC B, A plus the same. But then it's also the other thing that I'm curious about as well is that you've obviously got to identify that person in that relationship, because you meet them at an open house, you meet them at a barbecue, you meet them at whatever it may be. The identification of who they are and where they are in their journey of real estate, whether they're a buyer, whether or not they're just interested in real estate, whether or not they own real estate, like all of those things. Does it come down to the identification in the first sense of this?
I think that's one of the biggest faults of real estate databases as a whole. I think you're not putting contacts and leads or clients or prospects or whatever you want to call them. You're not putting them in the buckets that they deserve. So, like you said, I'm not going to send the same email or text message or ad or whatever you're going to try and do from a marketing standpoint to them. I'm not going to send the same one I would to someone who knows me versus someone who I just met. It's just completely different conversations, and it's completely different points of the transaction cycle at that point. So,
Yep.
like you said, if I meet someone at an open house, the worst thing I can do at that point is start peppering them with things like they know me already. Like, I look at it as like dating. Like, if you go on a first date with someone, or these days, if you match with someone on an app or whatever like that, and you start sending them 6 text messages immediately, you're going to turn that person off immediately, and they're going to unsubscribe pretty quickly from you, or they're just going to stop paying attention.
This is
While,
something.
yep,
Sorry, mate. I want to bring this point up. So part of our auction cycle and part of our auction process is that Matt and Chase handle the inbound. I then do the presentation. They say yes, I want to move forward. Okay. Then once they move forward, Chase, Matt, and Heidi sort of get the property ready to go. It goes live. Then I'm involved in coaching the agent through how to run auction, following up people, all that stuff. But Callista is involved as well as the auction operations manager. She is involved once we start getting closer to the auction date, a week out from auction, to follow up with everybody. It is unbelievable the different types of reactions you get to different types of things, because when we've had people go on and download things and we've got all of download the disclosures and reports that are done up front, is that we get an email, we get a phone number, okay, where they identified as a buyer's agent or a buyer. Okay. And at that point is that we choose then to email them, that we then text them, and we also call them. It is unbelievable the volume of people that won't respond to an email, won't respond to a text message, but then respond to a call, or won't respond to an email, will respond to a text message, won't respond to a call, or will respond to an email, won't respond to a text message, won't respond to a call. It's unbelievable understanding that preferential communication element. So does it come down to, when you're refining the people that you meet in the database, like forgetting all the marketing stuff, because I thought this was going to be more of a marketing conversation you and I having, but realistically, it's really about identification. It's like, what type of person are they? Where are they in their journey? And then what is their preferred method of communication? Would that be one thing? Or is that hard?
100%.
But is that too
easy.
hard?
No, super easy. We in the database that I used to run for the team that I had, we had preferred method of contact on every single person. If you didn't know, then it would just left blank. But if they had a preferred method of contact, which was either text message or phone call, or the older buyers and sellers that we were working with, they were all phone call. Like, it was perfectly easy for them to pick up the phone, and they preferred that. They never responded to text messages, mostly because at that day and age, in the 2011, text message was kind of new to them. Like, and they were never on their emails, so they just never opened up an email at all unless it was a bill or something that they were getting at the time. So they were phone calls. While the younger people, the first time home buyers, the military members, and everything like that, it was much easier for them to text, and so we would have preferred method of contact and text. But this is what I'm kind of getting at in your database, that you should have all these buckets constantly updating in there, and you should be able to filter pretty quickly at that point. So if you can even export any database into an Excel sheet, you could set a parameter on there that says, show me all leads that are an A+ lead who prefer text messages, and then it can match those 2 rows or those 2 columns, and then from that point you can then text all those people, whether it's a marketing text, or you're just trying to stay in contact with people, or you're trying to invite them to an event, or whatever you're doing at that point. Now you can reach out to that all of them simultaneously with their preferred method of contact, and then you can set all the other ones who prefer calls, all your A+. Now you can just go through your database and you can say, okay, now I got to set some time apart where I can call all these people, because these people won't respond, or they don't open my emails, they don't open my text messages. And if it's something paramount that I'm trying to get in front of them, or it's I'm trying to build my business for next quarter, then that's something maybe you would be giving them a call. So I think it's super important. And we've talked about this in the past. I used to have so many different things in our database that would tell me about the person directly in there. So, if they came through my open house and they're wearing a Dallas Cowboys t-shirt or something like that, I'd mark that down. I'd mark that in there. We had a section, literally a filter in our database that said preferred sports team or favorite sports team on there, because I know people like myself are very into their sports and what they care about and what they watch, and it's very easy to relate to someone and build that relationship if you can talk to something that they like, whether they're a craft beer drinker or a sports team or a wine drinker or something like that. You can have all that information in there, and then all of a sudden when you're contacting them with related information at that point. So hey, I just saw this home open up next to this next to North Park Beer Co. I know you go to North Park Beer Co. a lot. Wouldn't it be cool to just live a block away from one of your favorite breweries? So and whether they actually want to buy that home or not, at least at this point, it starts to get the wheels turning in real estate in their mind. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, check out this cool property down the street from your favorite place.
So okay, so let's talk about the transition though through D through A plus, right?
100%.
If let's talk about the D group because I'm really interested in just communicating with it. I think that's probably what we should focus on for the remainder of the episode because the D group, one, the identification. Okay, we've got to do that. But then two is that how do I then market to these people at that point? What is the messages? What is the best thing to do at that point when I really don't have much of I don't have a relationship with them at all. They're probably going to forget me.
Yeah, unless you do a good job. The goal would be that they don't forget you, right? So our goal when it came to anybody coming in the open house was we immediately wanted to give them value. So our number one goal when they came through an open house, hey, let me get your first name and last name, email address, phone number, and then when they're on their way out of the house, hey, are you thinking about stopping by other properties today? Like that was kind of our number one conversation. Yeah, we're just driving around. Maybe we'll if we see another sign or blah blah blah. Hey, I have a list of all the open homes in this same neighborhood for today. We would prepare that ahead of time before our open house, and we'd have every other open house in that area. Not our listings or anything like that, but again, we're trying to get these both from a buyer standpoint. We're trying to get them from a buyer lead standpoint as well. So I'd say, hey, I'd love to just send you a text message real quick. It has a link of all the open houses in Rancho Bernardo area. Feel free to take a look, and if you want to visit any of those, great. And that was kind of the first message that we would send to them. I'd send either text message or email address right as they're leaving the property. So that if they wanted to go visit, 1234 State Street down the road, they go to that one and stuff like that. My next round of communication the next day was a follow-up to see if they went to any of the other open houses. So It's an easy way for me to come back into their life and say, hey, my name's Chris. We met at the open house at 1234 State Street yesterday. Just wanted to check in if you got that text message with all the other open houses in the area. Did you happen to stop by any of those other houses? Oh yeah, we did. Blah, blah, blah.
I think that there's something to be said about that, mate. There's something to be said about the second round of communication. Yeah. I always have found, don't get me wrong, nice people are nice people. That's fine. Yep. But people are a little bit prickly in the first phone call when you as an agent are following up with them. It's that second round of communication, whether it's a text or whether it's a call, to then go, oh, geez, that person's, they're following up with me. I think that, is it fair enough to say, I would go as far as to say this, and don't get me wrong, I would prefer to text complete strangers because I don't really want to talk to them. Yep. But I don't think it's such an easy thing to not respond to a text message.
Yeah.
But if there is a phone call followed up by a text message or a phone call followed up by another if you don't get a hold of them, do you think that the first point of contact, that if you get somebody's name and number, yes, you should send them a text with a list of whatever it may be, but then to follow that up, it should be a phone call?
I always said, the follow-up should always be a phone call right afterwards. And this is kind of hard, right? So open houses, the ones that D leads that are coming in, a lot of times you're running those open houses on Sundays, right? Half the time. So you're either running them on Saturdays or Sundays. And so half the time, the next time you call them or the next time you reach out to them the following day is most likely when they're at work. So they're no longer around at that point. So I'd always call and they don't answer. You leave a quick voicemail at that point, or they do answer, and it's a great conversation. But I would say the majority of the time, probably half the time, they didn't answer the phone at that point. Yep. I would then immediately send a text message and say, hey, just wanted to check in to see if you visited any of the other open houses. That was only one of the pieces of value that we would send to them. But the first communication when they leave the open house was always a text message. So it was always just something, one, because I'm at the open house. So it's much easier for me to send a text message at that point and give them value. I think that's the biggest thing that we forget is people don't want to have the conversation with you, or people don't want to answer the phone or answer a text message if you're not providing them some kind of value. So like we go to a million open houses, and then there'll be agents saying, hey, just wanted to see if you're still in the market for buying. And it's like, yeah, that's perfectly well and fine, but like if you foster the relationship of, hey, I'm trying to give you value, I'm trying to give you insight into this real estate market without actually asking for anything in return, then I think it goes so much farther in your relationship building exercise with those D plus leads.
So like it's almost like ask. I like the question: are you visiting other open houses today? What other properties are you planning on visiting? I love that. Okay,
Yep.
but that said, also maybe it's another open ended question: is that, hey, what's been the most frustrating thing about your real estate journey so far?
Yeah.
Like, because I think that there's a part of this, like, again, this is, I think I was on the Peloton this morning watching Suits, and somebody said in a negotiation, like, oh no, he'll never listen to you, or your proposal is going to be the same as everyone else. And it's like, what do you need to do? Solve a problem that he doesn't know he needs solved just yet. Okay. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's kind of that same thing, is that, solving something, or being that person that can provide them with something that's going, or help them with the frustration within the journey of real estate. I don't know too many people that don't get frustrated through the principle of doing so. One, they're going through change. Two, they're trying to battle it out. Three, they're trying to make decisions. Four, they're probably in disagreement with their significant other, and they're not getting it done. Like, again, it's a very big friction point, people buying or selling real estate. So
the other one that people don't really ask enough questions, I mean, we ask it in the moment, but we don't use it as leverage from a marketing standpoint, is, have you already been pre-approved? Like, have you already gone through the loan process? Have you already gone through see what you can afford and all that stuff? Because a lot of people are going to the open houses and they actually haven't gone through that process yet. But being their facilitator, and again, being their expert and being the person in their corner to provide them insight on how to walk through that process, and here's the hurdles of this process, here's what we're seeing right now of going through this process, here's the interest rates, XYZ, blah blah blah. That's more value that you can provide as the expert that they're not getting elsewhere, and just trying to smooth that process out a little bit. Like, hey, I have a great lender, I'd love to match you with them, give their contact information to them if you're open to it, blah blah blah. But again, that creates a conversation point for you, and that's just a simple question that you're asking through the property anyways. So it just allows you to, again, put people into buckets when they visit your open house of like,
yeah.
hey, are they pre-approved? Are they already, like, have they gone through that process? Are they looking at other homes? Like, what's the steps? Like who are they as a lead to you? Because everybody's different in that standpoint.
So I like the idea of this, is that I'm using, tell me, like I like the idea of what I'm thinking in my own mind at the moment, is that, so for example, when an agent joins our company, we have an induction program, right? Where that induction program happens for a 90-day window of time. And we have seen our success of retention and their success go up hundreds and hundreds of %, okay, versus just throwing them into the deep end and going, okay, hopefully you swim, or maybe you're going to sink. So it's kind of like having an induction process for somebody that you meet for the first time, that D lead. Now, whether it's at an open house, whether it's at a barbecue, whether it's somebody that refers you, whatever it may be, but the induction is, okay, finding out what their ultimate needs are. What questions are you going to ask? What information is valuable to them? Also, how do they prefer to be communicated? Now, again, you're not sitting down and going, hey, this is an induction program for you being in my database. You can't do that. No. But it's almost, so tell me, and again, we'll lead into a couple of other episodes where we talk about C and we talk about B and we talk about A and how we do all of those things. But the thing that I want to understand, Chris, just as we sort of round out things here, as people are thinking about it, it's almost like as a D lead, you would have more communication and more marketing towards them. And then once they're in sort of engagement with you after they've gone through that process, you kind of taper it down a little bit so it's more sustainable, right?
I think you make it just different. I don't think you taper it down. I don't think that's the right words. I think it's more of passive marketing at that point. Like when you're talking about an A lead, they already know who you are. They've already done a transaction with you. Now you're just trying to stay top of mind so that you're not forgotten 6 years from now when they go to sell their home versus when they bought it for the first time, or whatever the situation is.
It almost becomes about referrals with those type of people.
Either referrals, or it becomes, a passive element of, hey, I'm still your expert to handle all your real estate needs, or just saying, hey, I'm busy, I'm still helping people in the marketplace, I'm still the expert to come to whenever you do need a problem, when you do have a problem. problem XYZ. Like, I think that's really the difference in that shift. While when you're talking about the D leads, you're trying to graduate them. You're trying to get them through the process, and you're trying to be almost like their coach through it, especially from a buying standpoint. I would say maybe a first time seller needs a coach as well. Like,
Mm.
but really from a buying perspective, if we're talking about open house leads and stuff like that, like I think that's really where you're just creating more of a on top of it marketing plan where it's that's kind of you're working on your pipeline, right? Like,
Got it.
and we have our guys that our sales team here, when they're working on their pipeline, it's much different than, they're about to cross the line or they're about to cross the
Yeah.
hurdle, or I already have them as a customer. Like, it's much different conversation at that point.
Well, I think that's been insightful. And I think that we really do need to understand how we build our relationship blocks from the very first point that we meet somebody. Because, I'm obsessed with the future of real estate in the sense of it being data driven, and the people that can capture as much data as they possibly can out of communities, out of people that they're working with, they're the ones that'll be here in the future. The ones that simply think that, people will find them is certainly not the way to go. But Christopher, thank you as always.
Yep. Thank you.
So about 75% of our audience hasn't liked, followed, or subscribed to our podcast. It would mean the world to us, and it would help this podcast more than you know to expand our reach if you were to like, follow, or subscribe on any of the platforms that you're watching or listening on. Thanks again.